This is the Doug Yost Challenge, which is the IAC Chapter 78. IAC is the International Aerobatic Club. It is our regional contest. Doug Yost was a corporate pilot who flew for Jack Links, and he lost his life in 2002 in a motorcycle accident. And he was an avid aerobatic pilot, and he was an up-and-coming aerobatic competitor. And so our contest is named in his memory, and there is also a scholarship that is awarded each year for aerobatic training to promote aviation safety. So even if you aren't interested in competing in an aerobatic competition or performing in an air show, aerobatic instruction can be important to pilots who just want to fly straight and level, because it teaches you about the airplane and how to handle the airplane and how the airplane reacts in adverse conditions. As one of the competitors said today, he said, "I like to fly aerobatics because I get to do everything I'm not supposed to do." I do not fly. My husband flies, and I am a loving and supportive spouse. He does fly aerobatics. He flies in the unlimited category, and he will be here later today, and he will be competing. I went up one time when he first started flying upside down, and I won't go upside down again. It's not for me. I would toss my cookies. People ask me a lot if I get nervous when he flies, and he's a very controlled and very precise and very knowledgeable pilot. I am more worried about him when he's driving his car, because he drives like a teenage boy.
I have had my pilot's license almost 30 years. I started flying in 1990. This is my third competition and my fourth year of being involved in the aerobatic club. So not very long, relatively speaking. When I was about 6 years old, I went to my dad, who was an aviation enthusiast. He was in B-29s during World War II. And I followed him everywhere, airports, air museums, air shows. And when I was about 6 in Smyrna, Tennessee, I saw the Blue Angels fly. And I thought, wow, would I love to do that? It's always been in the back of my mind. It took a long time for the opportunity to happen, but it did. One thing, and the main thing is, it teaches me to be a better pilot. I've learned so much about just controlling the airplane, and my first step was an upset recovery training course, which, you know, when the attitude of the airplane is anything other than straight and level, we call it upset. And it's just a good thing for any pilot to do that. Learn to recognize unusual attitudes before they happen, and you can prevent accidents happening that way. So that's where I started. I did a couple of courses there, and my second course was with a friend in Arizona who also taught aerobatics and tailwheel flying, and so it kind of went from there. And he said, if you can ever get into a place where you can work with some competitors, do that, because you'll be amazed at how much you learn. So that's why I'm here. I really was nervous. I had huge butterflies in my stomach, and you know, I just was the only one walking in with all these 20-year-old guys, and I'm like, oh, do I really want to be here? But everybody's so friendly. It's just a really unique group of people. Everybody is very kind and helpful, and you learn a ton. This is only my third competition, and it's only been one per year. They're regional, and so it takes time to get to them and back home. This is the closest one to me geographically, and this is my home club, and so our home chapter of the IAC, International Aerobatic Club. So this is the one that I usually am at. Significant accomplishments, yes. The first one was just to go do it. The second one, let's see, that was a couple years ago, because I didn't make it to one last year, but one of them, the first one or the second one, we had major winds. I had major winds, the wind blowing really hard up across the box. So it's hard to stay in the assigned area, you know, when the wind's blowing you out so hard. So I did almost my entire second run out of the box. My first run, you do three runs. My first run was really good. My second run, almost the entire thing was out of the box, and the third run got rained out. So it's just what it is, you know. There are a lot of excellent competitors in this club, though, so I don't feel really bad. My goal is always do it, stay in the box, finish the sequence, and have fun. My plane is a pretty low energy airplane. It's called a Super Decathlon. It's made in Fox River, Wisconsin by a company called American Champion. 180 horsepower aerobatic airplane. I say low energy because some of the planes that are in the competition are as much as, 330, that's a good number, and higher than that horsepower. So this one is more about low energy management. As you can see, the wings are big. You can see how little and maneuverable some of the other airplanes are. This one is pretty much a workhorse. Her name is Belle for several reasons. I'm from the South. I figure Belle covers Southern Belle. She is a princess, after all, or treated like a princess, and she's beautiful, so it covers everything. My son and I kind of put it together. I really like black and white checks. That's why I didn't want too many of them, but a few, so that's why I have the black and white checks. And I thought a black belly would be easier to keep clean because everything kind of settles underneath the bottom on the belly. And I was hoping it would show up in the sky. So black, white, and red. Those are kind of my colors. I can do pretty much everything that's in the aerobatic catalog, which is called the Arresti catalog, except for tail slides and tumbles. Those two things are not rated on this airplane. And truth be told, I don't have enough energy in this airplane to do it, even if it was rated. So for aerobatic flying, the FAA requires a parachute only if you're flying with someone else in the airplane. If you fly alone, you are not required to wear a parachute. I always do because I have one. And if you're flying with someone else in there, then you're both required to have a parachute. So this is parachute. In this airplane and in many aerobatic airplanes, this is you can get a better picture of the back one. This is called a hooker harness. So we're hooked in so tightly. We have a little ratchet here on the seat belt. So once you get up there, you can start up in the air. You can just start ratcheting in really, really tight, and you're kind of married to the seat. Once you're in there, you really can't move. It gives you a lot more leverage with the controls when you're flying if you're not floating around in the cabin. And other than that, things just have to be really hooked down. You can see my checklist. I have it hooked with Velcro so it won't go flying around. And other than that, I don't have anything else in the plane except my operating handbook, which is in the closed pocket there. And that's it. Otherwise, she's empty. They're stressed differently. They're made to stand the stress of pulling the G-forces. We have a G meter in here. And the G meter, you can see the red line. I can pull up to 6 positive Gs and 5 negative Gs in this one. Other airplanes, like the other airplanes that are around here, some are rated to 10 positive Gs and 6 or 7 negative Gs. So that's the biggest thing. It's just how they're built. And this one, it has different parameters if I'm flying aerobatics versus if I'm just flying straight and level. I can carry more weight in it when I'm flying cross country, just straight and level. But when I do aerobatics, I can't even fill the fuel tanks up. I can only go with half fuel in the fuel tanks for aerobatics just to keep the weight down. So it's rated for aerobatics at a certain weight. It's rated for cross country and other flight, just what they call utility flight. A weight and balance worksheet comes with the airplane that's unique to this airplane. It does for every airplane from the factory. And I have to put all my numbers, so the amount of fuel and the weight of the passengers and whether they're in the front seat or the back seat, that kind of thing. And then I have a little baggage compartment back here, and I do have to weigh the baggage. So then I just put it into the worksheet, and I have to come out with the right number or rework everything. My hardest thing is finding an airplane that I can reach the rudders and see over the nose at the same time. That's my challenge. So in this one I can reach the rudders, but I can't see over the nose. I have to kind of look out the side windows for my peripheral vision to see where I'm going. This is really fun, and this year we are so lucky to have in our local club 3 guys that are on the nationals team. So there's a lot of good flying going on. The main thing I like about this type of flying is it's just fun. It's way more fun than anybody should be allowed to have. And if you like it, you should give it a shot.
He's going to do a turn and a half spin, brings the nose up. One wing will drop.
We do not use G-suits because this aerobatics is different from military. Military does long sustained positive. We have hard negative G, hard positive, back and forth, and the suit can't respond to help you. So we do it with physical conditioning. We scream, we grunt, we strain, we train. I like to scream. I try not to do that with passengers, but it helps keep the blood in the brain and keeps us flowing. But yeah, no G-suit. It's all physical conditioning.
So this weekend we're having a regional aerobatic competition here in Spencer, and we've got competitors coming from all over the country to compete in multiple different levels, and I'm here to compete in the unlimited level. This is my first time here. I'm excited. I've heard a lot of really good things about this competition, so I'm really excited to be here. So I can't ever remember not wanting to fly from as far back as I can remember, but at one point I went to an air show when I was a kid, and I saw people flying upside down and all the amazing things that was happening, and I fell in love with it. I was just on a mission from that point on that I had to be an airshow pilot someday. And then later on I discovered competition and got into competition flying also. I've been flying aerobatics ever since I started flying about 26 years ago, but I've been full-time flying air shows professionally for the past 16 years, and I've been competing for the past 17 years. Airshow flying and competition flying, I almost hate to make the analogy, but it's kind of like figure skating and the ice capades. So one is a show where you're just trying to, wow the crowd and entertain people. The other one's a competition where it's all about precision and flying in front of the judges and just being as precise as you possibly can. I'm not really an adrenaline junkie, what people think I am, but I love the discipline of it. I love trying to make it perfect. I like trying to be as precise as possible. And I like challenging myself to be the best that I can be, which is why I like competition. To just keep pushing myself to be the best pilot that I can possibly be. And I like entertaining the crowd. When I was a kid, I was inspired and entertained at an air show, and to give back and hopefully inspire some other kids to pursue their dreams, then that'd be fantastic. So this airplane is called an MX-2. It was built in North Carolina. It's an unlimited all carbon fiber monoplane. It's got a really big engine, about 340 horsepower. The plane's pretty light, it's just about 1,200 pounds, and it's meant just for aerobatics. It's not very good cross country, though you can go pretty far in it. But for aerobatics, it's just unbelievable. If I can think of it, this airplane will probably do it. I've always liked black airplanes for some reason, because you don't see too many of them. So I've just had a black airplane, and the trim, the red, that's kind of changed over the years. It used to be blue. It just depends upon sponsors and what they want throughout the years. So for many, many years, I had blue trim. In the past 2 years, it's had some red trim on it. People ask me what's the hardest thing I do, and it's none of them. Because I practice up high, I make things so I know how to do it, where it becomes second nature and it's muscle memory, so that it's easy when I put it in an air show. So I can take my concentration and put on other things like where the ground is and where the crowd is and what the wind is doing. And it's kind of the same thing with competition. There's hard figures, there's stuff that's harder than others, but I wouldn't say any of it's dangerous. There's different levels of competition. You start on a primary doing real basic stuff, then you build on those foundations, you move to sportsman, and you build on those foundations, you go to intermediate. So by the time you get to my level, you have all the foundations to be safe and not dangerous with what you're doing. Yeah, if it was dangerous, I wouldn't do it. The biggest thing I do is stay conditioned. I just fly a lot. I'm in the air as much as I can. I try to practice 3 times a day and just stay conditioned to it and acclimated to it. There's lots of open airspace anywhere. So there's certain rules where you can't be. You can't be over a congested area. You can't be in what they call airways, which kind of highways in the sky. But as long as you're above 1,500 feet and away from all that stuff, you can practice wherever you want. Typically for practice, 15, 20 minutes. And then I'm pretty much out of gas anyway, so I need to land. But if I'm going cross country someplace, I can go for 3.5 hours. But you go at a much higher altitude, the air's a lot cooler. You're not working in the airplane, so it's much better. Oh, it's just hot. I mean, you're working. You're in a greenhouse, and the sun's beating down on you. So I mean, it can get up to 130 degrees in the cockpit. You got little air vents, but it's kind of like sitting in a hairdryer. It doesn't do a whole lot. It's so again, it's years of experience, right? You don't just jump in the airplane and do what you saw today. So you learn to know what to look at, and your situational awareness grows over time. So it looks wild and crazy and fast from the ground, but in the cockpit, it's actually kind of slowed down, and I know where to look at. I know what to look for. So it's like a figure skater. You see spinning really fast. You're like, how can they possibly do that? Well, they had to build up to that. It's years of experience. So G-force is like we're standing at 1G right now. So it's 1 times force of gravity. So my competition, I'll pull up to plus 12 and minus 9. So that's 12 times the force of gravity. Whatever your weight is, multiply it by 12, pushing down on you, or the other way, trying to pull you out of the airplane. And it just takes a lot of conditioning, doing it all the time, trying to stay in shape. A lot of grunting and groaning to keep the blood in your head. But the more you do it, the more you get used to it. Every figure has what's called a K value of how many points that it's worth. So let's say it has there's a low, but let's say it has a K value of 10, and you score a 10 on it. You rank 0 through 10. It's kind of like how figure skating is judged. And you multiply that by the K factor, and that's your score for that figure. So depending upon the difficulty of the figure, how many elements are involved in the figure, rotations and rolls, might have a higher K value and be worth more points. Just not being precise, not being perfectly in your line, not being perfectly vertical at 45. If you do a roll and you go too far or not far enough, they're all deductions from that perfect 10. Wind's a huge factor. You have a 1,000 meter by 1,000 meter box you have to stay in, or you get penalty points if you go out of it. And the wind is constantly trying to blow you out. So you have to know how to fly the wind, how to, adjust the shape of figures to compensate for the wind. So it's a big challenge. I did exactly what I tell most people not to do, and I taught myself. So I learned how to fly with a flight instructor. I went to college for it, but most of my aerobatic instruction was reading the books, thinking about it a lot, going really high, just taking my time, going slow, and just building up my experience. A lot of really good instructors in this country that teach aerobatics. There's some really good flight schools that teach aerobatics. Find one of them, take some lessons, get hooked up with them, ask a lot of questions, and learn from a professional.
Rob flies a custom-built carbon fiber airplane that is spectacular. There's a 3/4 snap roll going straight up into the air. His G levels will be very high. I believe he runs in the 10 G range typically. Very, very high speeds, very high energy airplane. Rolls like it's just flying down a wire. So he pulled vertical, most likely 8 or 10 G's up. There's a half roll straight up, another half roll up. He's still going. Takes a lot of power to do that. He's gained about 2,000 feet going up. He just caps off upside down, flies away. kind of outrageous to watch. It takes a lot of horsepower to do that. He's going to do an inverted spin, I believe. There he goes. It's spinning. One wing is flying, the other stalled. Vertical line down, snap roll the other way. And he's pulling out upright. Very high G pull. Well over 200 miles an hour to a straight up. Quarter roll, three-quarter roll the other way. And he's going to cap off, I believe. Again, flying very slow on top, so he'll have something in store. All right, outside loop to 45 down with a roll in it. He's actually doing a rolling loop, it looks like. Really hard to do. Okay, that was an outside snap roll. He actually pushed the stick forward, negative G, stalled the airplane to make it whip around and roll. Not using ailerons to roll it as you would conventionally. Aileron roll straight down. Aileron rolls on the horizontal, and he pushed up, negative G. He's being pushed outside, held in by his belts, probably at the 8 or 10 G level. And just moseying along, doing point rolls, 1/8 of a roll at a time on a straight line horizontal. This is a rolling turn. You roll continuously while you turn the airplane to come up with a new direction. We fly that in the lower categories, and it's just a fun one to do. And for most of us, anything on a vertical line is fun. It looks like he's going to do a tail slide here. He actually pulled the power back at the top, came to a complete stop at the top. He has no power, has no airspeed, actually has no control. That's a drop backwards. To do it clean, you have to set it up spot on, which he did. And back up, doing 1/8 rolls one way, half roll the other way. Very slow over the top to a 45-degree down line and an inverted snap. Some quarter rolls coming down and he'll be out. In advanced and unlimited category, they come down as low as 325 feet. That's the floor. The earlier categories of less experienced pilots stay higher, some of them as high as about 1,800. Rob, as an air show pilot, is accustomed to coming right down to the deck, but that would not be legal in a contest. Those ailerons are very fast. It's just blurring dizzy when you put the stick over and ride like that. The pilots do a lot of physical conditioning to do this. They have to stay in good shape, they need to be hydrated, and they need to fly this way multiple times a week to maintain the physical conditioning to be able to sustain these G's and keep the blood flowing to the brain and stay awake. There, he's done. That's his wing wag. He's out of the box. He's finished. That's Mike Lentz. He is on our world team. He's going to Europe next week to represent us in advanced category for world competition. He's the coach of the University of North Dakota aerobatic team that does come here to Spencer, Iowa every summer to fly this contest for the collegiate series.
I've had my pilot's license for 31 years. We have 7 planes, and I recently got into aerobatics, so I'm flying a decathlon. Otherwise, we fly a lot of Cessnas and a little Acro Sport and a PA-12 Super Cruiser and an amphib. Our son is the team captain of the United States Aerobatic Advanced Team going to Romania in August, competing on the world level. This is my first contest, and I think it's so awesome because it's a mother competing and a son competing. I'm in the baby or the primary category, and Aaron is way up in the advanced category. Well, Aaron thinks that I'm going to start doing competing in the United States Aerobatics in Oshkosh in September, but I just think I just wanted to get this one off my bucket list. So I do have my chemical egg spraying license, and I have flown a Pawnee, and yes, I have flown for crop spraying. I just like it when my son comes around and he gives his mom an awesome kiss. I like aerobatics, it's fun, it's a new challenge, and I like flying straight and level too, but it's kind of fun doing all these maneuvers. There's a lot of awesome pilots out here, a lot of aerobatic pilots. Everybody is, a lot of more women this year than in the past, and young ladies. And it's just a lot of fun. It's like a big family and a big team.
Hi, Mom.
And here comes another one.
We all love it here.
See, it's just a big family and everybody's wonderful.
I believe it's going to be a hammerhead. Evelyn with the roll on top. .45 down. It's another hammerhead. Or no, hammerhead with a quarter turn down. Rocking out. So I wonder, you'll probably come back out and do it again.
The aerobats dance is using an area on the ground to simulate the area you'll be flying in, and then going through each of the maneuvers in that area. So you're actually doing a little mental calculation as to where you would be, what you would do at what time. So that's basically flying the airplane without the airplane.
We're here with the UND aerobatics team.
So I did private pilot first, and then my second semester of college I took the introduction to aerobatics through the school. That was my first flight of real aerobatics. Before that I had done a flight in a twin Cessna, and they had done like wing overs and stuff trying to make me puke, and I just giggled the whole time. So.
Nice. Same, I got my private pilot's license between my junior and senior years of high school, and then after that I was working at my flight school, and there was a pilot who owned a decathlon that was like this one except with less engine, and he took me up one time just after work working at the flight school, took me up flying, and same kind of deal, was trying to make me sick, and I just had the time of my life and was like, I have to do this. So then when I went to college and found the aerobatics team, I was like, whoa, this is the best thing that's ever happened. I love the feeling. I just love how it feels to be upside down, and like how flying is. I love the camaraderie of all the pilots at competitions. That's amazing when you're talking to other pilots and everything like that. It's been really cool here to get to talk to all the people that I've heard of and like seen fly at like air shows and things like that, and then they're here just talking to me like I'm a normal human. I'm like, whoa.
So for me, I just love being in control of like having fun. So like roller coasters are fun and all, but you're not able to like control what you're doing, and then you get to try different things, fly different airplanes, experience different things. And then what I really like to do is being able to tell people what I do, and then they're amazed by it, and then they realize, oh, I could do that too. So that's definitely like my top thing that I like to do because I do Young Eagles stuff, and that's how I got into aviation. And so now I do Young Eagles flights, and then I tell people about like what I can do, and I always fly girls, try to snag all the girls, and yeah, it's very good to try to inspire the next generation. I was in Appleton, Wisconsin for a baseball tournament with my brother and my mom, and then they lost, so we got to go home early. And so on the way home, we drove through Oshkosh, and my mom was like, well, we can go get ice cream or we can go to this museum. And my brother and I were like, well, we're just going to do both. So we went to the museum, and we basically had the whole place to ourselves. And because it's so like interactive, it really caught our attention. We did the flight sim where we went upside down for a really long time. And then they came and told us, they're like, hey, you guys want to go fly a real airplane now? And and we were like, well, yeah, but what's the catch? Like, what's it cost? And they're like, oh, no, free. It's free. So we went out back and flew in a Glass Star. My pilot's name was Mike, and I'm currently trying to find him so that I can reconnect. But yeah, he gave me my very first flight at the age of 12. And then came back down, and I was like, Mom, I want to be a pilot. And I recently wrote a paper about it and asked her questions about it, like see what she remembered. And she said she honestly thought it was going to be a phase. That's like, you know, you say things every once in a while. Oh, I want to be a cook. Oh, I want to be a veterinarian. I want to be a doctor. It's like, it's just one of those. But nope, never grew out of it.
What about you? So when I was a kid, I was going to be an inventor, but the only thing I was interested in inventing was wings. And my mom found this opportunity for me to take a free flight, kind of the same deal as Liz. It was an event just for women because only 2% of pilots, between 2 and 6% in the United States, are female. And so there was a free flight available for any girl or woman of any age. And I went up in this tiny little Cherokee. It was old and janky, and the pilot didn't really even speak English, and we got off the ground, and the second we were airborne, I was like, oh, this is it. This is what I'm doing with the rest of my life. And I came down, and I told that to my mom, and she was like, oh no, that's expensive. So then I was able to actually apply for scholarships, which have helped me with all of my aviation training so far. We're both majoring in commercial aviation, so we're basically just getting a degree in being pilots. It's kind of a cop-out. I didn't say that on an interview. So I'm actually an intern this summer with Piper Aircraft. I guess you can tell by the hat. And they've offered me a position in January, and I'll be working with the sales department of Piper Aircraft. And so that's been a really amazing opportunity. They're located in Vero Beach, Florida, which is a little bit warmer than North Dakota for January.
So I'm looking for a higher paying job that pays for this, so probably airlines. Each year we do 3 competitions. We'll do usually 2 regional competitions and then nationals, which is in Oshkosh this year. So I've currently done Salem and then this one, and then we'll do nationals, and then
I'm flying. This is my first contest this year, and then I have a competition back in Virginia where I'm from that I'll fly, and then nationals. So you have to already have your private pilot's license, and then there's a course. It's a flying course that you have to take where you practice aerobatics with an instructor in a decathlon, one of these. And then after you complete that course, you're eligible to be on the team. And we have team practices. It's about once a month, right? Until we get to contest, and then we try and do once a week. And if you show up to enough practices and do well, then Mike tries to take as many students as he possibly can, and we just get to come to competitions, and it's really awesome.
So we've got 7 competitors plus our coach Mike, who's also a competitor. And then we have a safety pilot with us as well. I don't know that I've not really looked into airplanes enough to be like, ooh, I'm gonna buy this one, because I'm a broke college student that doesn't have money. But probably if I get something, it depends what level I'm at, and if I'm ready for unlimited, then obviously try to do more like an MX or an Extra, where you can get that extra horsepower.
I want a Pitts. I want anything, but I want a Pitts. Oh my gosh, I want a Pitts. Because they're amazing. So we actually, one of the competitors here took us flying in his Pitts up in Canada. We went together. That was in January, February, something like that. And
it was in October.
Was it? No.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was
still cold.
It was cold. And it was just the coolest experience ever to get to fly that airplane. And they're supposed to be really good airplanes to learn aerobatics in. They're supposed to make you a better pilot, so they're a really good starting airplane, and they're also gorgeous and beautiful and amazing, and I love them. Take a flight, apply for scholarships, and then I hate to say it, but UND is honestly an awesome place to train because just expense-wise, it's a lot of expenses right away, but you also get a college degree, which makes you eligible for captain's positions, which without a bachelor's degree, you're not eligible for. And you get all your ratings in a fairly quick span of time, so you have that that intensity of training, which is really good. And then airplanes are distracting. So that's a great way to go, but definitely take a flight and then apply for scholarships. And try and get into the general aviation community around you and like the airport nearby. Like Spencer is an amazing airport. There's an awesome community here. There's an awesome community in the airport that I grew up in. There's just so much mentorship from pilots that have been doing this for a long time.
So definitely go out to the airport and just hang out. Eventually, if you sit out there long enough, somebody's gonna notice that you're there and be like, hi, who are you? Like, what are you doing? And then be like, oh, I'm just watching airplanes. You know, I'd love to fly one. I've never been in an airplane before. Or, like, I really love it. Like, yeah, just really. I mean, even if it's not quite as common these days where you like work for your flights at the airport, but if you get to know people and build connections, then you can work towards that.
Yes, they've got somebody who loves them so much.
That's Beth, our airport mom.
Signifying a start. Then she's going to pull to a 45-degree upline. Push over the top. Straight and level. Slow it up and do a turn and a half spin. And then straight down, pulling level. Doing a hammerhead stall turn, flying straight up until the airplane stops, kicking rudder, turning around, and now flying straight down. Pulling level. Doing a 180-degree turn, 90-degree turn. She's just correcting now for positioning. All right, she just completed a turn and a half spin. Now she's doing a hammerhead turnaround. Straight down, pulling level.
This is a pit special. A pit says 2B. They're really common They make a great trainer for advanced aerobatics because it does have 2 seats and it can fly virtually anything. It won't fly the sort of stuff Rob Holland does at the limits, but then it's not a custom-built carbon fiber airplane with a custom hot rod engine either. This thing has 260 horsepower. It only weighs about 1,150 pounds. It is actually a stunning airplane for performance, and they have a really, really sweet control feel for them. So almost all of us have spent time in a 2-place pits learning as you go up through the ranks, and it competes really well up to the advanced level. This is part of the Denver collegiate team, flying very, very precise, very clean. I see a wing wag there. That wing wag means they're going to break away, re-enter the box. I assume that the wind is blowing them south and they're going to get clear.
This is my dad, so I'm his daughter. We both compete. Dad started when I was young and I would fly along with, and then that's how I caught the bug, was through him. And your first competition, you were 39 years old, is that right? And then so I ended up flying my first competition when I was 39, so I'm just kind of following in his footsteps. And this year is the first year that we're competing in the same category, in the sportsman category, so a little rivalry.
Now, you started your first competition when you were 39. How old are you now?
Older than that.
Are you?
Yeah.
Okay. So
71.
Actually, I started in the same class that she used to fly in, and then flew in the category that we're both flying in now. And then I got a Pitts biplane for a while, and I flew an intermediate, which is the next category up. And then we decided that this would be a good all-around plane for doing lots of things, and we both can fly sportsman with this airplane. This is a super decathlon, a blanket super decathlon. It's 180 horsepower. They started off life in the 40s at 65 horsepower, and then it's evolved to this. It's stronger, beefed up. Like this has a curved bottom wing, and a non-aerobatic plane will have a flat wing. This is not a good flying wing, but it will fly inverted, upside down, and but it doesn't really create the lift. It's designed for doing aerobatics. And we have an inverted fuel and oil system, so we can fly upside down, not indefinitely, but for a couple, 3 minutes, and that's enough. So parts are built up, and we have a much better seat belt system. We have a 7-point harness. It connects to the airframe at 7 different spots. We always kind of liked airplanes, but we used to race stock cars. And when we started our own business, we didn't have time to do that. So I started flying, because you can do that whenever you want. You don't have to do it. And just a good friend of mine had an airplane that would do some aerobatics, and we got working on that and evolved from there.
Yep, he would take me out when I was little and go flying, and of course the famous story, he was taking somebody out to look at some fields, some crops, and I just tagged along and was in the back seat. And you always get a little nervous when kids are quiet in the back, because it might mean they're getting sick. So he looked back, I was like, "Are you okay? Is anything going on?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm just looking for the Jolly Green Giant. Where does he live?" Because we were above the clouds a little.
It just broke through the clouds, and it was just a perfect white layer of clouds, clear blue day above the clouds. And we had went up through a little break in the clouds, and she looks around and says, "Where does the giant live?"
I started a Women in Aviation chapter in Des Moines, Iowa, and we just started that in January, so we're just getting going.
One more comment on our Women in Aviation. Now, this isn't just pilots. This is airport managers and anybody involved in aviation, the ladies. So it isn't strictly pilots.
Yeah, we have lots of people that are just enthusiasts. We even have a teacher that's part of the group. She's just involved in STEM and just excited about getting girls involved in other things. So, yeah, that's true. That's a good point. My first competition here was 2014.
I think that's one of the first. They might have had a couple before that. It used to be in Albert Lee. And industry grew up around the airport there, and so they couldn't get the aerobatic box. So Spencer's a great airport, great people in Spencer. They're friendly to us, and like I say, fantastic facility out here, and it's away from town, so hopefully we don't bother anybody in town. My hobby is not really flying. My hobby has been to learn to fly, and we can always go out and do better and learn how to do this better.
My thing is I get bored flying straight. I have lots of friends that like to fly cross country and go on trips, and I get bored. I just don't have the attention span. So this helps with my attention span and does make me a better pilot, because we have some discussions about whether you want certain ratings that are better, make you a better pilot, or aerobatics. And aerobatics, if you get in a position and start losing, I know how to get out of it, and I don't get nervous or get scared, where somebody who hasn't done aerobatics might get scared and do something and make it worse. So I think this makes you a better pilot also. You know, to be honest, when I first came to my first competition, you come in thinking it's like a sporting event. You're out to get somebody, it's all blood, you're not going to help, wish bad. It's not like that. We are all here helping each other become better, because really you're competing against yourself. You want to do better than what you did before. And, Spencer, it's like a family reunion. We come back here all the time, same people, or if not more, and see who got better, who got different planes, who's moved up in category. So it's not really what you think. We're not out to trip somebody and hope they break their legs so they don't fly thing. We're always helping each other.
That string tells you you're coordinated and flying straight and not slipping sideways.
The radio frequency, so we have one frequency that everybody talks to that's coming into Spencer. So you talk to each other to know where other traffic is. And then we have a box frequency, so it's more quiet. So as you're doing maneuvers, you're not distracted. And then we have somebody who has both of them to watch out for you, to make sure, because when the box is yours, no one else is flying in that area, and you're good to do your sequence. So I was messing with that, and then the altimeter to know where we are from the ground. And then this is the G meter, just how many G's we're pulling. So when he went, he was pulling 5, and then minus a little over 1.
So you reset that every time you go up?
Correct. Yep. That's our headset for the radio.
Oh, okay.
Yep. It's just a lot lightweight and stays on, so we tried bigger ones, but they'd fall off, and it doesn't help when you're flipping around.
No, I bet not.
He's coach of the University of North Dakota collegiate team, and he's also a member representing us in the World Championships for advanced category in Europe this month, a little bit later. The wing wag is his. Okay, he's knocking off. We've got a. Excuse me, the wing wag was his announcement to us. He's in, and he's into his first maneuver, which was about a 5/8 loop. He's doing a multi-point roll with hesitations down. We grade him.
I mean, even if you get wrong, that's all right. You can say, well, I guess he's doing this or that.
Sorry, we had an issue going on. Okay, so that's Mike. Inverted over the top, come to his next maneuver. We'll see what that is. There's a very strong wind today, so he'll be spending time going left to right to left, trying to correct his position. Vertical line, we grade him on how precise it is and how solid it is, and he is spot on. He came to a stop, pivoted straight down. We watched to see if he torques, if he bobbles. He had a 3/4 spin, 3/4 snap on the way down. He's out coming towards us. He'll have something vertical here. When he entered the box, he was probably doing about 240 to 250 miles an hour. At times here he goes to 0. He's experiencing G levels from about -5 to +8. At 8 Gs, your physical weight is 8 times what it normally is. So if I were 200 pounds, I'd feel 1,600 pounds of my body press me into the seat. He's flying very, very precise, very clean flight. This is, say, world level competitor for advanced. There's a lot going on in that cockpit. He's got to be ahead of it. He has to rehearse this before he goes many, many times in his mind, so it's memorized. He has to visualize it. Because the speeds are changing, controls are changing, and none of it is as simple as it looks. When he pulls back on a stick, it requires corrections in all the other axes at the same time, corrections with speed. It's a busy place. It has to be well planned and instinctive to make it come off at the level he flies. And it appears he's breaking off at this point.
Perfect.
This is Pterodactyl rex. Its name is there is no such animal. It's a flying dinosaur. It's made out of fabric wings and steel tube like an antique. And then it has 370 horses on it, which is the Rex part. It's a hot rod. But as a little kid, I was interested in airplanes and aerobatics, and I decided to build one when I was 10 years old, but figured out I couldn't quite, so I built a sailboat instead. And I was 15 when I started building my first airplane that I still have. And it's a nice airplane and a touring plane, but rather limited. This is an unlimited aerobatic airplane, so I built this one in my 40s and 50s. And it's just a riot. It's a hot rod. It will go straight up a half a mile. It can almost hover. The static thrust of that engine almost equals the empty weight of the airplane. So if I slow this airplane down in flight at about 65, 70 miles an hour, the wings don't provide lift like they normally would. In a normal airplane, you'd be all done. This one you can keep pulling back and put the power on, take it right down to 15 or 20 miles an hour and hang and go. But it's built for aerobatic competition. That's what it exists for. It's an aerobatic airplane. It's designed to perform. There are no creature comforts that you might attest to. It's like a NASCAR inside. There's no insulation. There's no upholstery. There's nothing it doesn't need to fly. And it's rather loud. That engine is a hot-rodded engine, a bit like the cars will do, with tuned induction, tuned exhaust, high compression pistons, lots of changes to it. And it all feeds out a megaphone exhaust on the belly that's about that big around, that was right under your feet behind a piece of aluminum that's only 25 thousandths thick. So it's loud in there, it's intense, but it's fun. I say it's like a race car that you can play with. In a car in the street, you can't do very much. You need a track. We can take off from here and play all that we want. There aren't any restrictions on us, which is a delight. So yeah, this was built over an 11-year period. I couldn't afford to buy one. So I bought some pieces of spruce, and I bought some glue, and I made all the ribs in the wing, and I bought pieces and more pieces, and then I needed an engine and couldn't afford to go buy one of those expensive airplane motors, so I started bidding for wrecked airplanes on the web, sight unseen. And I got an insurance salvage airplane that had this engine. It was a similar airplane, got the whole thing. Sold the airframe itself for what I had paid the insurance, and I took the engine and the instruments and all, put them in this airplane, rebuild them. So anyway, building on a budget. And a lot of these airplanes out here at the contest, maybe a tenth of them or a fifth of them are homemade airplanes. They were all done in our basements. So yeah, this was, my neighbors knew me well. This one was built in a basement that had windows that faced a road behind. So when the neighbors would drive by us at night and I've got the lights on working down there, they could see the airplane in the basement. And I was kind of a landmark there for a long time. It was a challenge to build it in the basement because it's actually a very narrow space. I was able to mostly assemble it temporarily while I ran the tail down one hallway and the wings across the shop. But the wings come off. The top wing is only 20 feet long, and it's light enough I can carry it myself. The bottom ones are shorter. The tail surfaces come off. All these things come off. So there's a sliding glass door, and if you take the two panels out of the door, yep, you can roll it all out and put it on a trailer and take it to the airport. But anyway, fun shop project and just delightful magic to fly. Cars are two-dimensional on the ground. A normal airplane's three-dimensional. This is six-dimensional. Anywhere you want to go, it'll take, and it's been fun learning. So, this airplane first flew in 2004, and I've got a son. I got it flying, and I got the test restrictions off it, so it's legal for others to fly it. I had a 21-year-old son who'd been flying my other airplane. I called my insurance company, it's a joke, you know. What would it take to put him on this thing? And they didn't say anything. A little while later, a letter came in the mail. It's got my son's name on it. No upcharge, no nothing. 21-year-old kid will give him this hot rod airplane. So he is now 37. But yeah, this 21-year-old used to take it. He still takes it out. He still takes it out and flies it. And so we learned advanced aerobatics together. And he went on to fly air shows, and now he flies corporate charters. But yeah, it's a family thing. Go out with the kids. And these last 2 years have been really busy. I haven't been able to practice enough to be as sharp as I want to be. So I'm down here as a volunteer. This is a big contest. It takes a lot of work. I can work whatever job, so I'm here to fill whatever gaps there are and make the contest go. So I competed in advanced categories. There are 5 levels. The top level is unlimited. To really compete in unlimited, you need a carbon fiber monoplane that can roll a little quicker than this one. I can fly as fast as they do. I can accelerate as much as they do, but I can't roll quite as fast, and that category is written for airplanes that can do that. So I get rather challenged because they have things going straight down where you have to do a whole lot of rolling things and get them done and then pulled out. I roll a bit slower, and the ground gets a little bit bigger, so I don't fly unlimited. The newest modern monoplanes, yes, that's a difference. This rolls faster than a normal biplane. It does a lot of things different from a normal biplane, but the last word airplane, and this airplane's been flying since 14, and it took me 11 years to build it. So the technology that existed when I built it, that was just about the last word. Now it's gone by, and they can roll faster, and I'm happy in advanced. It's challenging, it's delightful, and it's just total freedom. And it's my escape if things are crazy at work. Sometimes the airport's only 3 miles from my office. I'll go down at lunch, get in the airplane, close the canopy, and it's my world. Nobody is in control but me. It's me alone. Yeah. So I can get out in this plane, and there aren't any controllers telling me what to do. I'm on my own. It's my world. I can play, and it's just a good release for me. So he's going vertical and then come close to a stop. You get down to about 15 miles an hour, kick the rudder in what's called a hammerhead turn there to get a vertical down line. And he's got some aileron rolls down. And he's going to break that off to the west. So this looks more like he's playing at the moment. He's off his contest routine and just having fun out there. So he's set up for another hammerhead turn, come to a near stop, pedal straight down. It isn't just pedal, he has the aileron all the way to the stop, he has the stick forward. It's a lot of coordinated cross coupling, pat your head, rub your belly to make that go around clean. And Rob does an awesome job. And he's back to a straight up vertical line, a couple of half rolls. And he's pulling over the top. He's upside down to the ground on a 45 down line, and then some rolls on a 45 down line, watching the ground get bigger. And a sharp pull right out at the base of his aerobatic box at about 350 feet. Power is off. He's going to tail slide. He'll come down backwards. Airplane flips around the other way, and it'll tend to pendulum over a bit when it does. And that's all a matter of setting it up right, because when you're at the top with the motor idling and no air on your controls, you're on a ballistic ride. You just wait and see what happens next. If he sets it up correctly, it goes how he wants. was an outside snap roll. He pushed the stick forward, had probably several negative G's trying to push him out the top of the canopy to stall the wing so it would snap around in a quick roll. Back down on a vertical with aileron rolls, and he'll just pull out positive here. Flying at the altitudes he is when he gets near the ground, there's a lot of ground rush. When you're up high, you're not aware of the ground. As you get under 500 feet or so, the horizon gets larger and larger in your peripheral vision, and it's a dramatic kaleidoscope that Rob's very used to. Flying at low altitude is a very different experience. He's pulling vertical with a lot of airspeed. He's rolling and rolling and going. And capped off vertical, and he may be flying well below the normal stall speed of the airplane. With his kind of power, he can fly as slow as about 20 miles an hour hanging on the prop. He pulled the power back, put it into a spin, and recovered to a vertical line, which he gets scored on, rolls, which he'll score very high on. He's very precise, very clean, hitting his stop points. And another crisp, straight vertical line with rolls integrated on it, no wobbling. Very, very clean flying. And up at the top at virtually no speed, just floating over and coming back down. Snap roll. Okay, there's another roller, a rolling turn. You roll continuously while turning. You have to integrate precisely the right amount of roll for the right amount of turn. No variations in pitch rate, roll rate, yaw rate perceptible. Really fun to do, just doing a circle in the sky while it rolls. It feels like a ride in a washing machine. First ride through one is pretty disorienting. Once you get used to it, it's fun. It just rolls as a rhythm. And just an inverted turn, he's upside down. So we call that a Humpty Bump. Go straight up, get really slow, and make a little micro loop on top. There's a little negative on the down line. You'd actually get scored down on that. First noticeable. There's a roll.
He's done.
Yep. He's rolling out of the box, coming around to land. He'll fly over the top, make some good noise for us.
vertical, snapping at the top. And snaps on the way down. Pull to the vertical. It's a gyroscopic. He sort of snaps it and sort of a long shabak.
So is this Mark?
No. Okay, so he snaps it and then recovers. Then he's hanging on the prop. Rolls on the way down. Push to the vertical. Outside snap at the top, multiple snaps, recover. Again, snap rolls on the up line. Just uses the rudder and brings it all the way around. Knife edge on top of a loop. Outside snap. Okay, this is the torque roll. Just hanging on the prop, going down through his own smoke, recover burn. Kicking the rudder, bringing it around, and tumbling. Rolls on the 45 and tumbling after throwing in a lot of rudder. And in a flat spin, rolls and out. Opposite rolls. Pushing over the top with that, going all the way around. Vertical rolls. as it rolls on the vertical. Kicking rudder at the top with a tumble. Using a lot of rudder to go up sideways on a 45. End of sequence.